experiences its worst drought in decades. Dried out crops aren't the only threat to farmers.
It's been called an environmental catastrophe of unprecedented scale.
This map shows Europe. It is a continent located entirely in the Northern Hemisphere, bordered by the Arctic Ocean to the north, the Atlantic Ocean to the west, and the Mediterranean Sea to the south. With a land area of approximately 10.18 million square kilometres, Europe is the second smallest continent, but it is home to over 740 million people, making it the third most populous continent after Asia and Africa. But as we lay our eyes upon this map, we cannot help but feel a sense of foreboding. This once vibrant and lively continent is now facing a crisis that threatens its very existence. Rivers, the lifeblood of Europe, are drying up at an alarming rate, leaving behind barren and desolate landscapes that were once rich and fertile. The drought that has plagued this continent has not only affected the farmers, but also the energy industry, with hydropower generation, power stations' cooling systems, and river transportation grinding to a halt. It's as if Mother Nature is punishing Europe for its past transgressions. The drying rivers are not just a problem, they are a symptom of a much larger issue that threatens to consume Europe as a whole. But what could be causing this catastrophe? Is it climate change, overconsumption, or perhaps something more insidious? Join us as we investigate why Europe's rivers are drying up and what is causing this alarming phenomenon. Europe has been hit by a record-breaking drought, which scientists believe has been exacerbated by global warming. This unprecedented dry spell has affected over two-thirds of the continent, with many of its waterways from the Loire to the Rhine severely impacted by the heatwave. As a result, Europe's food supply, trade, water access, energy systems, and environment have all been negatively affected. Experts have warned that some of these streams may never recover if the hot, dry summers continue. The lack of water in Europe's landscape is enormous, and each year it's not addressed, the situation worsens. Groundwater has been depleted, glaciers that supply rivers have receded, and the drought conditions over the last 5 years have altered the landscape that has long supported populations and ecosystems. Even the warm waters of the Rhône and Garonne rivers in France have made it difficult for nuclear power plants to cool their systems, leading to reduced production. Meanwhile, hundreds of tributaries to major rivers have dried up completely, and the Loire, Doubs, Dordogne, and Garonne have all been severely depleted by the most severe drought France has ever experienced. The situation is so dire that hundreds of municipalities now require drinking water to be transported by truck. Waterways are crucial to the European economy, with nearly 1 tonne of freight moved per EU citizen and $80 billion in transportation-generated economic output. However, the extreme drought caused by global warming has significantly affected these waterways, leading to the Rhine becoming malnourished and preventing fully loaded barges from delivering goods to Germany's industrial centres. Russia's gas and coal embargoes have made the coal and fuel passing over the Rhine and other rivers crucial. The high price of French electricity is also affected by the scarcity of cooling water that has caused unavoidable outages of France's nuclear power plants. The economic value of these rivers is not the only issue. The drought has also made the water saltier and hotter, which can be lethal for many river species. Furthermore, higher temperatures can lead to dangerous algae blooms and threaten riverside systems, as witnessed in German rivers such as the Moselle, Neckar, and Oder River, where more than 100 metric tons of dead fish washed up on its beaches in less than a week in August of last year. Germany experienced record-breaking floods 2 years ago that caused over 150 deaths. The same area saw record-breaking droughts the previous year, while the Rhine on average only experienced extremely low water levels once every 50 years. The country is currently experiencing its third drought in less than 2 decades, following the ones in 2003 and 2018. What exacerbates the situation is that the Rhine dried up weeks sooner during last year's drought than it did during previous ones. The issue could worsen as Europe begins to experience its traditionally driest season. While Europe's main rivers' struggles have gained attention, scientists warn that the smaller rivers suffer much more than they should. Many of them have completely dried up, leading to the permanent loss of entire communities of biodiversity. The next time it rains, it won't simply come back. Furthermore, the drying up of smaller rivers has a significant impact on agriculture, water supply, and local ecosystems. Therefore, it is imperative to pay attention to the plight of smaller rivers in addition to the more prominent ones. Italy's longest river, the Po, is facing an unprecedented drought that has caused its flow to drop to 1/10 of the normal rate, with water levels sinking 2 meters below average. This has resulted in severe consequences for the country's agricultural production, particularly in the Po Valley, where 30 to 40% of Italy's agricultural products are produced. Rice growers have warned of losing up to 60% of their crop due to the drying out of paddy fields, which have also become contaminated by seawater drawn in by the low river level. The situation has been worsened by the high temperature and slow flow of the river's delta, which has led to a decrease in oxygen concentration, causing a significant decline in the number of clams growing in the lagoon. The situation in the Danube basin, which spans 10 countries from Bavaria to the Black Sea, is even more concerning. The Danube basin is the second longest river in Europe and covers 10% of continental Europe. rising in the Black Forest Mountains of western Germany and flowing for 1,770 miles, 2,850 kilometers, to its mouth on the Black Sea. The river has been vital for the settlement and political evolution of Central and Southeastern Europe, with its banks lined with castles and fortresses forming a boundary between great empires, and its waters serving as a vital command highway between nations. However, the once mighty Danube, relied on for survival for generations, has been drained by extreme drought and unusually high temperatures, upsetting all the residents, including port employees, farmers, members of the shipping business, fishers, restaurant owners, and families. The Danube Basin is facing a dire situation as it experiences its lowest water levels in recent memory. The river's flow is less than half its regular summer volume, leaving broad stretches of its bed exposed alongside the shorelines. The dead mollusks are evidence of the damage to the riverine life, and even locals are collecting rainwater to conserve the Danube's drinkable water. Along the shoreline, new beaches have emerged, populated by children who are making the most of the situation. However, the situation is grave for the freight barges that are waiting in the harbour for their turn to use the Sol Canal deep enough for passage. In addition, entire wharves and their ships are stuck on dried riverbeds, and islands have emerged in nearby shallows. The situation has caused farmers from the neighbouring agricultural regions to demand that the government declare a state of emergency. And a grim reminder of the past has also surfaced. Scores of sunken battleships from World War II can now be seen in the diminishing river at the Serbian village of Prahovo downstream of Novi Sad, with some still holding live ammunition. They serve as a reminder of the German heinous crimes against the Serbian people, as well as the ongoing effects of those atrocities. The dry weather in Central Europe is revealing eerie signs from the past. As rivers dry up, hunger stones are being exposed, a unique type of low watermark found in the region. These rocks are only visible when water levels are exceptionally low and are inscribed with dates or sayings commemorating events such as crop failures and famines. The stones serve as warning signs for future generations, highlighting the possibility of future famine if water levels reach such lows again. One of the most notable hunger stones was discovered in Germany's Elbe River, inscribed with the phrase, "When you see me, weep." The sight of these stones is a somber reminder of the potential consequences of climate change and highlights the need for action to prevent future tragedies. The world is facing a harsh reality as Ukraine, one of the 7th largest wheat producer, struggles to harvest and sell its crops due to Russia's invasion, while the world's largest gas exporter, Russia, is drastically reducing its shipments to Europe. This situation has led to a sense of dread for many people as the prospect of starvation and freezing in the upcoming winter becomes increasingly real. Furthermore, inflation has depleted many people's money and the government's resources are running out, which means that the poor will be the hardest hit in the coming months. Believers in God may question why Europe is experiencing such terrible weather curses at what seems like the worst possible time. However, the Bible teaches that God not only allows weather disasters to occur, but also uses them to warn the planet. In the past, people have used catastrophic weather events as a reason to change their ways and turn to God. Scientists have also noted that centuries of human activity and engineering along Europe's rivers have had a significant impact on their susceptibility to heat waves, low water levels, and floods. This includes the straightening of formerly wild rivers, deforestation, dam construction, industrial pollution, wastewater discharges, and agriculture's encroachment on wetlands and shorelands. The situation in Ukraine and Russia, coupled with the effects of climate change and human activity, highlights the importance of taking care of our planet and being prepared for the consequences of our actions. The drying up of Europe's